do not oppress the widow or the fatherless, the foreigner or the poor. So he gives us 4 examples of people that we should not oppress, and that rather we should actually try to help and protect the widow and the fatherless one and the foreigner and poor. In the ancient world, and I think in the modern world as well, though not perhaps always to the same extent, those groups of people are people who, uniquely among different groups of people in a community, are the ones who don't have built-in social protections. And particularly if you're looking at the ancient world, when the husband and father, the men, basically had so many more legally recognized rights. If there was not one in the picture, then the widow and the orphans left behind would have no one to speak up for their rights. The foreigner is someone, the foreigner or the sojourner, the stranger, is someone who is not necessarily covered by the local government, because that's not their point of origin, but the government, the point of origin, is in no position to extend them any protection either. So they're in a very uncomfortable and unsafe place. And the poor, and this is definitely true today, the poor are the ones whose rights are most likely to be infringed upon. Looking at it in a modern American context, poor people don't have money to hire lobbyists. So when laws are being passed and money is being passed, they're usually the ones that get left out. So these are the people who need protection, both so far as their rights are concerned, and also who are vulnerable and need physical aid. Things that have been mentioned, like being fed, being given shelter. In Proverbs chapter 31, verse 8, it says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy." And similarly in Psalm 82, "How long will you defend the unjust and show partiality to the wicked, but rather defend the weak and the fatherless. Uphold the cause of the poor and oppressed. Rescue the weak and the needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked." So what is being asked of us is not just to feel pity for people, but to take action and to speak for those who are not in a position to be able to speak for themselves, to provide a voice for them. There are other scriptures that I won't actually go into, but I can direct you to later, in which God introduces himself when he's saying who he is. He says things like, "I am the God who protects the oppressed." It is so important that it is one of the ways he defines who he is. And certainly if we want to follow him and be like him, we should do the same thing. It's very important that we be bold and be willing to take risks like that Samaritan did. Okay, in Micah chapter 6, a very interesting question is raised here. "Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000 rivers of olive oil? Shall I offer my firstborn for my transgressions, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul?" He's asking, what do I have to do to get God's blessing? Do I have to give up everything? Do I have to give up my own firstborn? And the answer, "He has shown you, O mortal, what is good." And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God. So, there are other verses that remind us that we don't want to be unfair toward the wealthy just because they're wealthy either. But these particular types of people that have been listed are the ones who need someone to speak for them. So we need to minister to the community in a serving way, to soothe and comfort them, make sure that their physical needs are taken care of, but also be their voice. In Isaiah, it mentions that's the kind of fasting that God likes, loosening the chains of injustice and untying the cords of the yoke and setting the oppressed free. That's a pretty tall order, isn't it? especially looking at us, we're a very small group, and one can't help but wonder how much we could possibly do. But I think that it is basically necessary for us as individuals, and also us together here as a group, to try to think of ways that we can do that sort of thing in the community and be that kind of source of healing. And in fact, I want to leave you with that idea, with that as a challenge. Even though there's just a handful of us, what can we do? There's bound to be some ways that we can make our presence known. And by doing that, we can be that balm of Gilead, which to me is such a wonderful expression, such a wonderful thought, whether we're talking about God's love and mercy to us, whether we're talking about our love that we show to one another, or whether we're talking about the ways that we can be helpful to those who are